Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 234 of the allegedly award-nominated and ranked number 9 Outside the Box podcast. Shout out to Maddie Rambo and Trevor Baptiste on the one time. And, of course, you can watch DJ and I on the YouTubes. It's the Outside the Box podcast, part of the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. KB and Deej coming at you from Underground Studios. We got some fun topics to dive into on this week's episode. We're going to recap everything that went down for Throwback Weekend at Peter Barton Stadium in Denver. We're going to get into our Salt Lake City preview, DJ's favorite city in all of the continental United States. And we're going to do a little flashbacking, too. You know, last week was Throwback Week, but this week's just as much of a throwback. So we're going to kick it back a little bit later on in the show. And then, of course, NLL free agency is on the horizon. And friend of the program, Adam Levy for NLL.com, wrote a beautiful primer to get everybody ready for NLL free agency, which, if I'm not mistaken, begins on Monday, August 15th. So buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride. But before we get started, make sure you're following us on the socials at OTBLaxPod on Twitter, on Instagram. Follow DJ on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. What's the update, DJ? Where are we sitting at? You know, we're gonna have some Friday night lacrosse after dark. It's like a Wheel of Fortune before and after. Normally it's Friday night lacrosse and then lacrosse after dark. We got both all at the same time. What's the status update?
We are 7 away.
7 away. Come on, you fucks. Follow Deej. Come on. There's 1,400 of you that follow OTB alone. Follow the boy. Get him his followers. He deserves them. Follow him at SCS_NextGreat. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com, where I might be bumping an article that I wrote back in 2020, just simply for the location of this week's games. You can check out all of our written content there. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there, and leave those 5-star reviews over on Apple Podcasts. Helps the show grow, hits that algorithm, lets more people join OTB Nation. So subscribe and review on Apple and Spotify. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. We're on that road to 1K, ladies and gents. We're currently sitting, as we record this on Thursday night, at 211 subscribers on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You get full video episodes of OTB every single Friday. Unless there's games during the NLL season that happen on Thursday, then you get OTB earlier. But right now, every single Friday, you get OTB in full video form over on YouTube. Click that thumbs up, smash the like button, click the bell icon so you don't miss a single episode, and comment down below with your picks of the week, your thoughts on, the matchups, all that good stuff. And be a friend, tell a friend, share the YouTube channel with your peeps. Shout out to the sponsors who make this show happen. Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. Go to tomahawkshades.com and use that code USP at checkout. That's code USP. Nice and simple. At checkout, you get 25% off your entire order. Sunglasses, blue light glasses, everything in between. Tomahawkshades.com, code USP. I still haven't received an email from them back, so I'm waiting on that. I don't know if they're just too busy acquiring more NFTs to make their profile picture. But shout out to the boys at Tomahawk Shades. Kenwood Beer, Deej's new favorite beverage of choice when he's in the Philadelphia area. Go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. You got to be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. And the boys over at Bino, they just announced a tournament going down in Los Angeles. So all of our West Coast people, go check that out in the tournaments tab at binoboard.com. But go to binoboard.com and also get your boards, your accessories, your apparel, and use code BINOUSP for 10% off your order at binoboard.com. What's going on, Deej?
Living life, man. Life is going good.
That's the remix of Matt. on the main pod. I felt very main pod kicking it to you there. And then Matt normally says, living the dream. Living life.
Look at us. Look at us.
When we bring the merch back, that's just going to be on the merch. Living the dream, living life.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Because what else can I do, man? I just got to live life.
That's all you can.
I can't not live life, right? Like,
big facts.
But yeah, had some practices this week. Boys are showing up, getting some work in. I can't make it mandatory, which I suck. I hate that. I think that sucks so much. But the ones who show up will be the ones who get better, and it'll bleed eventually. More guys to show up, so not upset. A little bit of time to rest as well. I need to get in the gym. Send me some gym, some workouts. What are y'all doing in the gym? I got to add to this wall ball routine.
I ain't doing nothing in the gym. Let's dive into everything that went down during Throwback Weekend out in Denver. Shout out to RJ. It was RJ Day this past Monday, the anniversary of RJ coming on the show. It's very rare that RJ does a podcast. I have not seen too many shows that RJ has been on. We are fortunately one of them. So shout out to the boy. Happy anniversary to RJ Day. That's August 8th every single year. One day we'll have RJ on to celebrate RJ Day. But PLL Denver, the vlog getting shot on a camcorder was absolute gold. The throwback Gatorade cans were hilarious. And the jerseys look great under the lights. And they're going to look even better on Topps cards once Topps gets their act together and starts pumping out the card. Because I don't know if you saw this. I saw somebody who liked our tweet because we continually were tagging Topps this weekend. Somebody posted a screenshot, I guess from like a Topps like upfront or something with their plans for this year. There was supposed to be a full 2022, like in 2022, a full PLL set from last year already out.
Yeah. People have been asking for it, and it's been nowhere to be found.
It's absolutely insane. I don't know if that has to do with the purchasing from Fanatics of Topps, but come on. Let's get it together. By the time that set comes out, this year's cards are going to have to come out, which there were some beautiful photos that are going to look phenomenal on some Topps cards.
They better get used.
Yes, especially that picture of Trevor.
That was a phenomenal picture. I thought that was awesome. I thought the picture with Ryder and Coach Nat was also a great one.
Yep.
I was like, that is, yes. Like
There's
that.
one with
That
Chris
embodies,
Collins as well. That was fantastic.
Yes. And it was like, Chris wasn't so mainstream, which I feel like fits his personality so well. Like, he's such a big part of their team, but he's not like out in the forefront about it. But like, if he was to not be there or he was to not coach, like, it would definitely be noticeable.
100%. The picture of Grant was great. The Michael Sowers one that was being used on like every blog photo card was great. There's a couple more that I'm like blanking on, but there was a good one of Nards that was really, really sweet. Great pictures. Photographers really outdid themselves. Had some phenomenal games in Denver as well. Some exhilarating finishes. To recap, we had Redwood's Top Cannons 15-12. Chrome beat Chaos 13-9. Water Dogs outlast Atlas 16-15 in OT. And then Whip Snakes down the Archers 13-11. What were your big takeaways from these ones, Tej? Which game or games really stood out to you from Denver?
It was overall just like a really good weekend. Like, you could kind of just tell the guys were having a good time, but you could tell they were hot. Like, the most surprising thing to me was just the speed of the games. Like, it didn't slow down at all. Like, it was the same pace of the rest of the season, even though, they had the elevation, the heat, guys
The
still
early
pushed.
start times.
Yeah, like guys still pushed to their limits and like went hard. The games were still fast, very up and down, and competitive. I thought guys were just literally just having a good time. Like I wasn't even upset at how games went. I didn't think any game was too far stretched for anyone. Everybody was kind of in their game for the most part. And then Cannons kind of had their collapse, that's probably the game that's sticking out to me is their weekly collapse doesn't make sense to me because for whatever reason, it seems like they have all the pieces. They play 2 or 3 very good quarters every week and then just lose it. And like it doesn't make sense to me
I
on
think
how
they're
they
missing
lose it.
pieces defensively. Like Pulver can't do it all, if that makes sense. Like they have guys for sure. I just don't think they have like every other team has like you can think 2 guys like that are like locked down like rocking. Keelty's been good, but I've seen him get beat more so than like other teams like number 2 defenders. I just feel like they don't have depth defensively, and when I say depth, like experience depth, and I feel like they're just asking Pulver to just like do everything.
I guess I agree with that. I don't think they like have all the pieces. Like when I say that, it's just like it doesn't make sense to me on how they have the pieces in the first and second, possibly the third quarter, where the pieces that they have are doing all the right things, and then they just stop doing them. That collapse makes no sense to me. Like, how can you be winning in the third quarter and like, hey, yeah, we're doing all of these things right. Let's do them again in the fourth quarter, and then just walk out there and decide not to do it and lose again after you've done that the past 6 weeks in a row, 5 weeks in a row. Like, when are you gonna just wake up and be like, we are good enough to win these games, so why don't we just win one?
Is it to the point where they're like predictable?
Yeah.
Because every week we're in the press conferences talking to Coach Quirk, to Lyle. Asher's been up there a handful of times for a rookie. And it just seems like it's the same moment that they collapse. And every single team they've played outside of their one win, which also was kind of just a barn burner in Albany, every opponent that they play is able to make a halftime adjustment to beat them. Every single team. And it's like they're not adjusting at halftime to what they're seeing out there because most of the time they're playing from ahead. Like they're winning a lot of the time at halftime. And it's just like I feel like they just go on cruise control. And Lyle said it since week 1, even when they won, they got to play a full 4 quarters, and they have not done that all year long. And I also don't feel like the revolving door of talent coming in and out has helped with just chemistry, where every other team in this league, whether if they started off slow or, they're rocking and rolling, there's some sort of chemistry across their roster. Like, even Chaos, didn't have the best of chemistry, and sure, they were losing, but they also had a team that was assembled of, infantry members just chomping at the bit to get out there, but they still had some fluidity because those guys fit that system. Lyle's talked about trusting the system and everything, and while I think guys like Lyle, Asher Knowlting, Ryan Drenner all fit the Cannons system, I still feel like the revolving door and continuously switching guys in and out, I feel like a lot of those guys may not fit their system, which is also why, a lot of people were talking about this week when Tehoka got released into the player pool. I mean, the way that Cannons are operating, they'd be foolish not to go and sign him. They'd be foolish to not give him an opportunity to play with Lyle.
I mean, not even just to play with Lyle, just to play in general. Like,
for sure.
Even if the Cannons don't pick him up, I think every other team in the league is foolish not to take him and at least give him a shot. Like, Chaos took him and just felt like he wasn't, one of the top.
It's tough to crack that side of
the. And it is. In that offense, outside of the Archers, I would probably say that's the toughest offense to crack, just in terms of how they play, and then the guys that they have, they're so skillful that if you're not literally out there like running someone's spotlight, you have to go out there and be like, you're not going to be better than me this week. And that's how you play in the chaos, in the chaos
Yeah,
locker
it's literally
room.
Chaos Archers and Atlas are like, good luck.
And it's not even just the offense in that matter. That's just the entire team. Like you have to go out and run someone's spot on those teams. And if you don't, you're just going to be sitting at home all summer. So I get it and why he didn't play there, but there are so many other teams where it's like there isn't a question that he would play, and Cannons is definitely at the top of the list. Would be extremely surprised if he doesn't go there. I mean,
makes too much sense to not happen.
They need the help,
yeah.
in my opinion.
Like, he fits them perfectly. To let him play with Lyle, to let him play with Asher, to let him play with Ryan Drenner as well would be very, very fun. We'll see what happens there. It's obviously not going to happen this week, but maybe next week we'll see Tahoka in a Cannons uniform to round out the regular season in Seattle for the Cannons as they, hang on for dear life for a playoff spot. The game that stood out to me was the Water Dogs and Atlas. That game, going to overtime, the Water Dogs had no quit in them. Even when they forfeited that lead, they had a 3-goal lead late in that game. Atlas came storming back. They're playing with a rookie face-off guy out there who you and I obviously were part of Tucci Gang. But they never quit. And then Steve DiNapoli goes out and is an absolute menace, sends the game to overtime. That felt like a playoff game. Like, that was one of those games where, like, Redwoods Atlas in Fairfield felt like a playoff game. Water Dogs Chrome felt like a playoff game there. Water Dogs Atlas, which could be a playoff game in a couple of weeks as well, that felt like a playoff game. That felt like a playoff atmosphere. And it went to overtime, and that was like a really fun back and forth. That game had the speed that we talked about with Michael Sowers. Like, how did we feel they were going to be able to keep up with the speed of Atlas? I think that was a massive momentum win for the Water Dogs to just keep trucking along and in this bounce back resurgence they've had since dropping their first couple games. I think it was a gut check for Atlas because they dropped a game to a very good opponent when they were kind of in cruise control going into and out of the All-Star break. Now they've kind of seen the wheel slip a little bit. I think that was kind of a reality check to be like, we're good, but we can't get complacent.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, like, it was a game that they should have won as well, and I think they're looking back at a few plays they made that game, and they're like, obviously, like, we should have done this different. Eric Law said it himself. That last play was, he was like, I shouldn't have done that. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I put a lot of blame on myself. Like, they feel more like they beat themselves and they threw that game away. So now it's kind of just a refocusing thing for them. They're like, all right, like, we got our playoff spot. We're locked in, but, score differential still matters. Seeding still matters. Like, we can't forget what we're really still doing here. Like, every game in these, these last 3 weeks, 2 weeks still matters. We need to play before we get to the playoffs. That game was a lot of fun to watch, though. I will say that I didn't expect for it to be that close. I thought it would have been closer to, a 2 or 3, possibly 4-goal game instead of a, overtime game, let alone a 1-goal game. But it was still very exciting to watch. I guess that was on me. You should never count the Water Dogs out. Should never, really shouldn't bet against them. They're just a gritty team.
Especially right now.
They're probably the grittiest team in the league in terms of just fighting for what they want between the lines. Like, once the game starts, you got 48 very hard-fought minutes against a team that wears purple, and they're going to make you work for it. Once it gets outside of the lines, they don't have control. But once it's inside of it, they're going to do everything they can to have control of it. And it's just fun to watch. I'm excited to see what they do move into the playoffs. They're still on 5-game win streak now. Like, they're rolling.
And they won that game without Ryan Brown and without Jake Withers. Zach Tucci held his own against Trevor Baptiste. I think A lot of people are finally realizing how fucking good the Water Dogs defense is. And it's a lovely sight to welcome our people. I feel like we're like Lord Farquaad right now, welcoming the people of Duloc into the Kieran McArdle is really fucking good at lacrosse fandom. Welcome into the kingdom, ladies and gentlemen, where I have been preaching this about Kieran since about, since I started watching the sport of lacrosse. And DJ and I as a collective have been preaching about this since DJ started co-hosting this podcast with me. So welcome to the Kieran Hive. The McArdle Hive is alive and well. DJ and I are the king bees of the Kieran Hive, and he's top 5 favorite podcast player. Like, we claim players as our favorite players. Kieran's been in our top 5 for well over a year, and he's been one of my favorite players to watch since I started covering the sport. And shout out to the people who are also giving him credit for being a dog during his Florida launch days. But it's very nice to be on the right side of history and be right about a player, and people finally starting to give said player the recognition he deserves. Shout out to Mr. McArdle. Shout out to your second grade class.
And you get it all year round because he's also playing for the Riptide during the winter. So, I'm hype about it. I think he plays awesome next to Jeff T. I think he plays awesome next to Michael Sowers. I think he's just an awesome lacrosse player. I've asked Coach Copeland about this. Even he enjoys how much, the leadership he's taken over and how exciting it is to see him take the reins of the offense, because that's what it is. Kieran McArdle, that's his offense now, with Sowers having his condition and having to run out of the box from time to time. Kieran McArdle is in control of that offense. That's his offense. He runs it, and they look better than ever, in my opinion. Would not be surprised to see this be their offense moving forward, and to see Sowers come out of the box more often, because Kieran McArdle is just amazing down there and the offense flows.
Hey, you want to know who's tied for third in the league in points this year?
I know Kieran is.
Kieran McArdle with his New York Riptide teammate Jeff T.
Interesting.
He's only 1 point behind Will Manny and only 5 points behind Lyle. I'm just asking, and this is all Kieran fandom bias aside, is there a legitimate argument for Kieran McArdle to be in the MVP conversation?
I think so. And I think so because, all bias aside, you look at their season, when Sowers got hurt and Kieran took over the offense and everything shifted with their team, is when this 5-game winning streak started. And ever since then, they have literally been the best team in the PLL. I think if we look at these past 5 weeks, I think they have the most goals. They probably have the most ground balls. I would bank on them having the most ground balls
as a team.
Solely off of Zach Currier, Jake Withers, and Liam Burns. The 3 of them probably have more ground balls as a trio than any other trio to exist. The things they do are unreal.
You'd be surprised. They are actually 6th as a team in ground balls
on the season.
For the season, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what it is in that 5-game span. That's a Joe Keed question. I think that they have run the league in this 5 weeks. They have looked literally dominant. And it's a weird dominant. Not a dominant where teams aren't in these games, but a dominant to where even in Fairfield, you could feel like the Water Dogs are going to win that game. If you're there, you feel like the Water Dogs are in control of the game the entire time, regardless of what the score is. And that is a different kind of dominance, especially in the sport of lacrosse. They're at just another level right now. One team I do not want to run into as a team is the Water Dogs. I would play anyone else right now.
I'm going to read you 2 player stat lines anonymously. You tell me who you would vote for if the season ended today for MVP. Player A has played in all 8 games, has 32 points on the season, 16 one-point goals, 16 assists, so even across the board there, on 47 shots. So shooting 34%, 35 shots on goal. Their shots on goal percentage is 74%, 0 for 2 on 2-pointers, 19 turnovers, 3 ground balls. That's player A. Player B played in all 8 games, 31 points, 14 one-point goals, 17 assists, 47 shots as well, has a 30% shooting percentage on 32 shots on goal. Shots on goal percentage is 68%, 0 for 2 on 2-pointers as well, 17 turnovers, 10 ground balls.
Is it fair to ask for records
Of the teams.
Yeah, because like to me that matters. Like you can't be an MVP if you're not
That's
winning.
fair.
In my opinion.
Player A's team is 4-4. Player B's team is 5-3.
Okay, so they were who I thought they were, and
Shout out Dennis Green.
and it's interesting though, because like when you take into account of who they are, since I know who they are, there are 2 games that you can pretty much take away from player A, because player A only had, I think, 3 points total in those 2 games and had like a bunch of turnovers. But player B doesn't have that.
Should I let the people know who player A and player B are?
It's Will Manny and Kieran McArdle.
Yes.
So
I'm gonna tweet that tomorrow and see what people vote.
And it's interesting because it's like, in my opinion, I think Will Manny has been more valuable to the Archers.
Will has been my MVP vote. Everybody knows, if you've listened to this show at all, you know Will Manny has been my front runner for MVP since like week 3.
But I think that if you take into account of record and how the team has played, I think Kieran deserves it more at this point.
It's making a very good case. Like,
oh yeah,
I think the top 5 guys in points so far this year are your candidates,
outside of number one. I for me
he's gonna. Well, I'm just saying he's gonna be a candidate.
He'll be a candidate, but I don't even think he should be.
These are your top 5. It's Lyle, who missed the 1 game with injury too, and he's still leading the league in points.
Yep.
Will Manny's number 2. Kieran and Jeff Teat are tied with 31 points, and then Brendan Nickturn is also there with 31 points. Those are your 3 players that have over 30 points so far this year. I think those 5 guys are like, you can make the argument.
Who's 6?
6 would be Woke Up Chris Greasy with 28. Tom Schreiber and Michael Sowers have 26.
I would almost throw Chris Greasy in there and take out Brendan Nickturn. Just because I feel like, me personally, just because like the chances of him winning MVP are so low. And we know I shouldn't say we know, but he's almost a guaranteed shoe-in for Rookie of the Year. And I mean, Chris Gray is 2 points behind. His team has more wins.
I think the inevitable top 3 MVP across the board, like candidates, are going to be, I think, as weird as it is to say, because his team is 1-7, they'd probably be winless, is Lyle. I think Will Manny is almost firmly locked. And then I think right now, it's a race between Kieran and Jeff Teat. Kieran's probably on the outside looking in from just a name perspective, because Jeff Teat is Jeff Teat.
But I don't think it'll go off name.
If it were up to you and I agree.
I think Teat's on the outside looking in.
I think that race for who gets in the top 3 depends on who finishes with more points. Just from like outside, like looking into like how I think it will be played out, that's how I think it would go.
I think they're gonna go off record.
But I mean, granted, both those guys' teams are 5-3. It's gonna be interesting. Kieran's making a case for himself the last 3 weeks.
I guess what I'll say is I think Teet's on the outside looking in because he hasn't had the season he had last year. Like, he was so blockbuster in 7 games or whatever it was last year that, like, it's making this year look entirely too easy. Like, what does he have? What does he have now, right? 30.
This year, he has 31 points, 19 one-point goals, which I believe leads the league in one-pointers, if I'm not mistaken, and 12 assists. Last year, in 7 games played, he had 32 points, 16 one-point goals, 16 assists.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this year just seems like too easy, like normal. Almost,
it's almost about the same.
Since it's almost the same, like no one's like.
He's got more goals than assists this year.
No one's reacting to it like they did last year. Like, it was so like, oh my God, Jeff Teet. Whereas everybody's like, yeah. Jeff
I also
Teet.
think it was because it was so new with him as a player and with Atlas winning.
I get maybe Atlas winning, yes,
because this year I think the expectations for Atlas, outside of a few people, myself included, but hey, they're coming back down to earth a little bit. I thought they were going to take a step back, but a lot of people thought they were going to build upon what they did last year and be, a top 2 team in the league, which right now they are pretty much in terms of just like prediction wise of where they're going to finish. But I think that adds a little bit to it where like last year was so new to see Atlas actually succeeding as a team, and it was on the back of those young guys led by Jeff Teet, where this year it's like, oh, that is Jeff Teet. Like, everybody knows what his game is about, and he's, outperforming in terms of goals scored and leading the league in one-pointers.
Yeah, but I also take everything so literal. Like most valuable literally means like most valuable.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
to me, it's not best player.
Yeah, like to me, taking Jeff Teet off of the Atlas, they are better than if you take Kieran McArdle off of the Water Dogs, making McArdle
I agree with
candidate for most valuable than Jeff Teet, like, which is kind of ironic to say in terms of not wanting Lyle to be one, but that's also just my stipulation with winning. Like, you ain't valuable if your team ain't winning. Like, nobody on the team really valuable. Hey, I shouldn't say that, but you know what I'm getting at. Like, at this level, like, it's not about being there and having fun and enjoying the game. It is, because it's the medicine game.
Could you imagine how bad they would be without Lyle?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can imagine. But, like, this is professionals. You guys are out there to win. So, like, if you're not winning, it doesn't really matter. The base of it in terms of playing for the medicine and for the game, the creator, all of that is all still there. And that's, like, the main reason. But at the same time, everybody's there to win games. So if you're not winning games, can't really be in these conversations for awards outside of leadership, sportsmanship, teammate, humanitarian, in my opinion.
I'm going to spin zone it real quick before we touch on the other 2 games we haven't touched on because they're kind of easy to touch on. I'm going to spin zone it. Cannons are bad because their defense is bad.
Oh, yeah.
Spin zone for the people out there that are listening.
100%.
They're bad because their defense.
There's nothing on him.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Y'all got to be winning games to be valuable.
Chrome balance back, get a dub over Chaos. Chaos just looked slow. That was the one team that didn't look right for whatever reason. Something just was not on about them. Max Adler got dinged up in this game too, so that didn't help. I was looking because you missed that press conference, right? I was looking when we were waiting for everybody to come in, and they got deuced on in the ground ball game after Adler got hurt.
Really?
Deuced on. I'm going to pull it up here. Out ground balled by 20. Yeah, 42-22.
Yeah, that's not good.
Chaos just never looked fluid. I don't know if it was like that early morning and then the heat as well. Josh Byrne said it was really hot out there. They just never got anything going. Wes Berg was back in this game, but didn't really contribute much. Low key, I think they missed Challen Rogers and Kyle Jackson a bit. But it was just, Adler went 9 of 24 at the stripe. Connor Farrell had himself a game. And it was weird. It was weird, too, from a Chrome perspective because everybody talked about the broadcast. We brought it up in the press conference. Normally, like, Logan is known for scoring, and Nick Turn's known for being that quarterback and, dishing it. They kind of, like, role reversed in this game. Logan had 4 assists and a goal. Nick Turn had 2 goals, 1 assist. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic. Jordan McIntosh also confirmed that Cole Williams is now the keeper of the speaker in the locker room, just 2 weeks into his time being on the team, which is pretty wild. But yeah, Chrome looked like they were #back, and they looked like very fluid. Scanoni saved 58% of his shots that he faced. He was a dog back there. This is a good win for Chrome. Good win for Chrome. Bad win for Chaos, or bad loss for Chaos. They definitely had to win this game in order to kind of really control their own destiny. Now they have to win out, pretty much, to really secure a playoff spot and not rely on Cannons to do what Cannons do, and that's fall apart in the second half. But yeah, that was that game. And then Whipsnake's Archers looked a lot closer on paper than I think it actually was. There were some later goals that Archers were able to kind of capitalize on. But that was another game where the Whipsnakes defense stepped up in a big way. Matt Rambo was fantastic in this one, and confirmed Bryce Young hates short kings. Because good grief, brother. Good grief.
In fact, confirmed. This game was weird for me, though. Like, I thought this was that, like, realization, like how you brought up for, like, Atlas, where, like, it was kind of like, whoa. Like, this was a whoa game for Archers. Like, they're 4-4 now. Like, if they lose this week and the Redwoods win, we're talking about a possible swap in the standings. They're lower than the Redwoods. I doubt it because of score differential, but you're in the same boat they're in. You know, you're 4-5 and they're 4-5. You went from, possibly fighting for the number 1 seed to down as the 4th, 5th, possibly 6th seed. Like, that's huge, and you have to turn it around quickly. Like, and even they brought it up that, like, things settled in for them, and like they're kind of having that realization. So that was my main takeaway from this, was like they didn't even look like they were on the same field. Like Whipsnakes kind of ran away with it early and just cruised. Like, and they were able to cruise. Like the Archers weren't putting the pressure on them to not cruise. Like, Whipsnakes kind of just got what they wanted, and hopefully, I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Archers, but it was interesting to see them kind of lay flat and kind of just take it.
I know, Chris Bates has brought it up in multiple press conferences, and I know our boy Joe Nardella is a dog. And I know the guy I'm about to talk about is a rookie, and he's getting used to the league still. But I'm starting to really feel like Justin Inacio ain't it. I know it's still his rookie year, but you can only kind of chalk it up to being a rookie for so long in my book. Like Blaze Reardon says it best almost every single week about the young defenseman on this team, on the Chaos squad. Like, you've played X amount of games in this league, you're not necessarily a rookie anymore. You're getting experience, you're playing games every single week. I don't know, man. I'm like starting to lose faith in him being the guy, because he's had that one good week, and I know Chris Bates talks about, they don't predicate on necessarily winning at the stripe too much, but that's only going to take you so far. And as we've seen in every single championship in this league, you need dominant play at the stripe in order to get possessions, create offense. This Archers offense is too fucking good to not have opportunities created for them. And as they continually lose at the stripe, it's only going to hold them back that much more.
Yeah, the stripe is a huge problem for them. And, I can't say it's just him. That is part of it. Winning the clamp is part of it. Winning balls
starts with him.
Winning balls to yourself is part of it. It definitely starts with him. Making it a ground ball is part of it, a battle. And, so he's got to lock that part in. But also, I don't think he's gotten the help on the wings that he's needed either. Jarrett Connors and those and John Robbins have to step up a little bit as LSMs, and then Treasy, Trey LeClaire, those guys who get on the wing, Mark McNeil, like those guys have to help in as well. Like when he makes it a 3-on-3 battle, the Archers have to come up with some of those, or I shouldn't even say some of those. They have to come up with every 3-on-3 battle because he either A, doesn't make them enough, or he doesn't win enough to himself. So when it is a battle, that's your opportunity to win. So you have to take advantage of it. So I think it's a whole unit thing. Like until he's comfortable and he's got the cadence and he's winning them to himself, they have to give him more help off the wings. And he has to just focus on making them battles. That's the way to kind of attack it for now, and then work on the cadence and stuff in practice. So then once you feel comfortable and you can win them to yourself, you can expound on, taking quote unquote normal face-offs.
I personally, I know they'll never say it, I think they regret trading Bones Kelly. And if I were them right now in the position they are, I would regret it too. You still could have drafted Justin Inacio where you drafted him because you didn't trade your 3rd-round pick. I feel like they currently and will regret trading Bones Kelly once the playoffs roll around as well. Because you don't have the experience in the playoffs going up against potentially Trevor Baptiste. Probably not Joe Nardella because they're going to get the auto bye almost if they win this week especially. Going up against TD, going up against Jake Withers or Zach Tucci. Like Zach Tucci has had a much better transition from the college game to the pros than Justin Inacio. Just saying. I think they should, for this year at least, regret that trade.
I think it was more about getting something in return.
I don't even remember what that.
I don't know what they got in return, but they got something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
they didn't, because they knew they were going to draft Inacio regardless. Like that was their plan.
That was the worst kept secret of all time.
Right. So they didn't want to let Arceri or Bones Kelly go in the player pool because then they get nothing in return. He's just gone.
Here we go. It was Archers received Cannon's 2022. Oh, maybe they did use that pick to draft Inacio. They received Cannon's 3rd-round pick, which was number 18. I forget what pick Inacio went. And then 2022 4th-round pick, and then Cannon's received. Oh, they just swapped thirds.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, to be fair, Inacio probably still would have been there if you didn't make that trade. You basically got a 4th-round pick out of that. You swapped thirds and got a 4th, and then Cannon's got Bones Kelly.
Who did they draft at that 4th round?
I can tell you in just a second. 4th round.
Does that make things interesting?
Was pick number 20. Well, they had the 2 4th-round picks, so it was either John Robbins or Ryan Oghaven. Whichever one, because they were back-to-back, so I don't know which one was pick number 20.
I'm hoping it was Robbins.
For their sake, I hope it was Robbins, just without actually counting.
Right, because then it kind of gives a little bit of validity to what I was saying. Like, if you're going to put, because then they would have been having 3 face-off guys on the roster, which means They either don't put one, they put them all in their 25-man roster and figure out, what to dress for game day or whatever they're going to do for that. Or they have to release one and then they just let them go for nothing. And it sounds like they were going to release Bones Kelly by the looks of it. Why release him if you can at least get a pick back, which gives you a player who turned out to be John Robbins, who has fit in to be a nice 1-2 punch with Jared Connors.
Sorry, it was pick 29, not pick 20. Pick 20 was the third-round pick. Pick 29 was Ryan Oghaven. So they went back. They got back-to-back picks. John Robbins was their own pick, and then they got Oghaven with the recouped fourth-round pick.
I have nothing to say.
Just saying, they're going to regret that one.
If y'all were listening, I didn't say nothing.
Redacted.
Yeah, all of it. All of it. It don't exist.
So to quickly run through the standings right now, post Denver heading into Salt Lake. Whipsnakes at the top of the league at 7-1 with a score differential of 10. Whipsnakes have clinched their playoff spot, and they have clinched a championship series berth. They are the first team to clinch the champ series berth. Atlas sitting in second place at 5-3 with the most scores in the league at 110 and best score differential by 1, Deej, at 16. Chrome at 5-3, sitting with the second best score differential at 15. Chrome, for the first time in franchise history, have clinched a playoff berth. The Water Dogs also sitting at 5-3. They have a score differential of 3, and the Water Dogs have also clinched back-to-back playoff berths. The Archers sitting at 4-4 with a score differential of 13. They have clinched a trip to the postseason. Then you have the Redwoods sitting at 3-5, a much-needed win last week, a score differential of -11. If they win this weekend against the Water Dogs in Salt Lake City, they will punch their ticket to the postseason. Chaos sit at 2-6 with a score differential of -21, and Cannons sitting at the bottom at 1-7 with a score differential of -25. The predictions here right now, DJ, the Redwoods sit to make the playoffs because all the other teams are obviously locked in for the playoffs. Redwoods sit at a 99.84% chance to make the playoffs. Chaos at 81.48%. Cannons at 18.69%. And your championship favorite is still Whipsnakes for you gamblers out there. Whipsnakes are predicted to win the championship with a whopping 42.49%. The next in line are Atlas at 16.61%, Archers at 13.37%, Water Dogs at 8.95%. Oddly enough, Deej, Redwood still have a better opportunity to win the championship than Chrome right now at 7.86% versus 6.3%, and Chaos sit at 4.13% to win the championship. And it seems like the championship series is almost all but locked in. Atlas are 96.58% chance to make it. Chrome are 79.02% chance to make it. And Water Dogs are 77.41% chance to make it. Archers on the outside looking in, which is very interesting, at 46.95%. Cannons and Chaos both at 0%. And Redwoods sitting with a minuscule 0.05% chance to make the championship series. That's your Denver recap. Let's get into our Salt Lake City preview. DJ's favorite city in the continental United States, Salt Lake City, Utah.
That's
DJ,
so much sarcasm, y'all. Don't listen to this, man.
DJ loves his Mormons, loves BYU, and we're going back to the site of the OG Championship Series back in 2020. This is where the PLL bubble took place, PLL Island, if you will. Going back to the scene of the crime there, where Zeddy Ballgame made his PLL debut. Zach Currier, Dylan Ward made their PLL debuts. Was also the moment we saw Matt Gaudette make his PLL debut and unleash the most Joker laugh of all time. It's going to be very fun. Obviously, it's a couple days past where the original championship series ended. But on Friday night, with 8 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. start times, get your caffeine ready, East Coast. It's going to... We all know 99.99% of 2020 was absolute dog shit. There was a glimmer of just like camaraderie and fun online during the championship series. Look, Friday Night Lacrosse After Dark is going to be very, very fun to bring that back in Salt Lake. It's going to be like a nice little trip down memory lane of one of the very few pockets of happiness during the year 2020.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I'm never going back to that city, but they seem to have an amazing time when they play out there. The guys like it a lot. They bring the energy. The fans are great. It's also the first autographs. I like actual autographs I've signed for people was out in Salt Lake City. So
Big time.
Maybe I will have to go back out just because the people are cool.
They love
I don't
you.
know. We'll see what happens.
The Mormons love you, brother.
I'm not going anytime soon, but maybe. But yeah, the guys like Salt Lake City. It's going to be awesome. Friday night under the lights. It's going to be sick. I'm sure Discord and Twitter are going to be popping. I don't normally do this, y'all, but we are, in fact, doing a do review next week. It's going to be one of the energy drinks so that I can have multiple of them so that I don't fall asleep in the press conference this week.
Yes. That will happen.
For those of you that know, you know. For those of you that don't, you don't.
Sorry about your luck. We do have some incredible matchups this week as we return to Salt Lake. All the games on ESPN Plus, and before I go through them, if you missed it, Saturday's games have time changes due to the weather, just like Denver did. So Saturday, the first game will now start at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and the second game will start at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. They were originally scheduled for 3 and 5:30, so they're bumped up about 3 hours each. Friday night starts off 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Atlas Whipsnakes. Come on. Beautiful. I think the only other matchup that would have been great to return to here would have been a Whips Woods matchup. But Atlas Whips just as good. Both teams playing very, very well. I think this is going to be a physical game, very high energy, very high intensity. I'm excited that this is the first game of the weekend. 10:30 p.m. we get Water Dogs Redwoods. Should be a doozy of a matchup as well, with the Redwoods having a playoff clinching opportunity on the line there. Return to the scene of the crime. City-wise, for the beginning of Chaos's epic playoff run last year, Chaos Archers, the game that started it all, is your first Saturday game at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and then Cannons Chrome at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's your slate of games. Deej, what game are you looking forward to the most on Friday? Is it Atlas Whips or is it Dogs Woods?
Ironically, Atlas Whips.
Agreed.
Atlas still pushing to, like we just mentioned, kind of get back in the win column and get back to playing Atlas lacrosse. And the best team to do that against is the Whipsnakes. Once again, total sarcasm there. It is extremely hard to find yourself as a team against the Whipsnakes because they just play their ball so well. So it's hard for you to play the style you want to play. So I'm really interested to see if Atlas is going to be able to get into their groove and play Atlas lacrosse. And, if they are able to, this is going to be one of the better games of the summer, 100%, because we'll see two teams playing their style of lacrosse, and we're just going to see which style is better. And then obviously we have the best face-off matchup to ever exist between Nardella and Trevor, so that's going to be awesome to watch as well. And just the implications of Atlas never winning a game against the Whipsnakes. They're still winless against the Whipsnakes, and they're still fighting for that. What better time to do that than 2 weeks away when you're, quote-unquote, struggling to figure out your identity going into the playoffs? perfect kind of matchup for a start to what is going to be an amazing weekend, because I think I'm more excited for this first game because of how it can affect the next game and the rest of them. If this first game has all the energy and it's a blockbuster, there's no way the Redwoods and Water Dogs don't walk out, 45 minutes later and put out an even, just as good of a game, if not better.
Yeah, I mean, Atlas have lost 2 out of 3. Their lone win was obviously the win over the Redwoods at the Star. They didn't play. They played Archers at the Star.
Yes.
They lost to the Redwoods in Fairfield, and they lost last week, obviously. And the last time Atlas played Whipsnakes on Long Island, outside of a late Chris Greasy 2-pointer, Atlas scored 7 points against this Whipsnakes defense. That was the most dominant I had seen Whips defense play all year. And, I mean, Atlas have a lot to prove in this game. They have a lot to prove. This was the first game that Coach Rubio brought up the whole substitution situation that I continually ask him about in press conferences this year. But Whipsnakes are rolling. I think if they win this game, they clinch the top seed, if I'm not mistaken, because it kind of just separate. They can't lose 3 games. So this game means just as much to the Whips, in my opinion, in terms of getting that bye, getting that number 1 seed, getting an auto bid to DC, that it does to Atlas, who, like you said, have not won a game against Whips. They need to get back on track because they have 2 teams breathing down their necks to jump them in the standings, and you don't want to be on a streak of losing 3 out of 4 going into the final week of the season with so much on the line in terms of just jogging for positions in the standings. So this game means a lot. I think the big matchup that I'm looking for is how much Bryce Young hates Chris Gray. Because he hates the short Kings, baby.
But does Bryce Young get that matchup?
Probably not.
Or does he get the T? And they give Muller Gray. Well done takes.
You don't think Bryce going to whisper over to Muller and be like, let me get that motherfucker? His eyes just go red.
You know he's going to.
He starts barking.
He's like, hey, bro, you can get the dinner roll on my post-game meal if you let me get him.
I'll let you get on the speaker.
You want to ride shotgun? Yeah, go ahead. You can have it. I just want him.
I hope Bryce knows this is all out of love, and it's just a bit.
Bottles on me if you let me get him.
Man. Dogs Woods is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for, to just see how these 2 teams play against one another. Have they played
I don't know
each other this year?
This year, but I think so.
I'm looking at the schedule now. I don't remember them playing this year.
No, they haven't. They have not.
Yeah. First time for everything.
Think about last year's game in
Long Island.
There's another one too. Was that long? I thought they played twice last year.
They probably did because there was the extra game last year. Looking right now.
Yeah, I do remember the game in Long Island in the rain because Connor Kelly had that 2-bomb from the parking lot.
No, they only played once.
Huh.
They played... And they played once in the bubble, which was the first game of the playoffs. Yep. Yeah, so this will be the 3rd time these 2 teams meet all time.
Seems like so much more because both of those games were so blockbuster.
They were just really good matchups. These 2 teams play each other really well. As weird as it is to say, there's a lot of similarities between these 2 teams. But Redwoods are 2-0 all time against the Water Dogs, so that's very interesting. But I think these two teams have a lot in common this year as well in terms of defense. I think their defenses play a similar style. I think Water Dogs, not to slight the Redwoods defense, I think the Water Dogs defense just as a whole, they're a little more like athletic, if that makes sense. It might not be the better. Well, yeah, I agree. As a unit, they're better, but I think that's just because there's cohesiveness and camaraderie amongst them playing together pretty much for the last 3 years.
Well, I think it's just more about their play styles.
Yeah.
Like I feel like their defensemen are very fluid. Like the three of them can play.
And that's what I meant by athletic too. Like,
yeah, but like the Woods are not. They're not really fluid. Like Garrett is a cover defender. Like, and that's it. You know, our most fluid defender is Eddie. He's probably our only fluid defender. He's probably the only one who can play multiple positions. There's nothing wrong with that and having roles and playing solidly, but it does help in playing in a cohesive defense if your poles can move around.
Yeah. I wish that one of these teams had a black jersey for this game. It would be so cool. It'd be so cool. I mean,
technically, the Water Dogs got a black jersey.
Can the Dogs run it back in the Johns they wore in Denver? Because those by the way, those were the best jerseys in my opinion.
Yeah, now that they had the throwback, like, do teams just get to pick when they want to wear those?
I'm not mad if they do like a throwback weekend every year. I'm cool with that.
Just one day. I mean, obviously you just want one.
Well, no, I want like a throwback weekend and then eventually, third jersey incorporated like we've talked about ad nauseum on this show. But we have our take that I will continue to reiterate that we think the limited edition jerseys will be worn in the championship series. So that's, you heard it here first. Not confirmed, so just predicted.
What that means? That means I'm buying that Woods John ASAP because ain't none else going to see it.
Facts. That thing going to be real limited edition. Like, after that 48 hours, ain't nobody going to see that bitch.
Just like that one. Y'all only see it when I'm on here.
But yeah, I thought the Water Dogs won the weekend with that jersey, and if they could turn like those jerseys into like what they wear normally too, like those color schemes, I think that would look kind of sick as well. But man, imagine if one of these teams had a blackout jersey and then just either a color or a white jersey or something, like to just like bounce off of each other, be polar opposites under the lights.
I mean, technically, Water Dogs got a white jersey now.
Yeah, but we ain't gonna see that thing until the championship series if they make it. So they don't really got it like that.
Yeah, and that if. I think they're gonna make it though. If you ask me,
yeah,
well,
I agree.
I'm gonna see the roster on that thing because Kieran ain't gonna be on it.
I am excited to see Kieran match up against this defense though.
Ewok isn't going to be on it either. Yes. This defense is going to be interesting to play against.
Don't think they've really
he's pulling. He's going to pull the Garrett matchup.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see.
Did they put an injury report out this week yet?
Does he try to neutralize himself and become more of a passer, or does he try to attack more and use his speed against Garrett, or does Garrett just continue to be the best defender in the league? I will say it over and over. Garrett Apple has been the best defender in the league this year. Mike Manley's made a case, and so have a few others. Depoy right now is Garrett Apple. That's why I will say
something very interesting in the press conference of Chaos Chrome popped up that people are talking about one JT Giles Harris being in the conversation for Depoy.
Oh, absolutely. He absolutely should be. But I also don't think he's been better than Garrett Apple.
Put it out there, too.
We saw Garrett Apple turn over Lyle Thompson 3 times in the first quarter.
Shout out to the boy Brian for having tweet of the weekend, by the way, though.
Yes. If it ain't me,
The weekend.
If
Tweet
it ain't
of the
me,
weekend right there.
That's all I'm gonna say. If I ain't got tweet of the weekend, it's definitely Brian. 100%.
That's a Hall of Fame tweet of the season. Like the 2022 PLL season Hall of Fame inductees is that tweet from Brian on Denver weekend. To be fair, Christian Scarpello and Ryan Brown both listed as questionable on the injury report this week, so we'll see if they end up playing. That'll be interesting if Ryan Brown plays as well, because it just adds another dimension to their offense, and we know how we play against sharpshooters. That'll be fun.
I like Jack Kelly though. He got
it.
He got it in him. He got that
dog.
All pun intended in him.
Chaos Archers on Saturday. Important game for both teams. In that sense, this might be my game of the weekend. We'll find out in the picks. Just in a sense of importance for both teams. Chaos have to win this to really stay in the very, very small. This is the driver's seat that Chaos has right now is the same size as BBC's Tiny Desk for the Tiny Desk concerts. That's the driver's seat that Chaos is in right now. And Archers, like you said earlier, they need to win this game to kind of keep a little breathing room between them and Redwoods and kind of get back into, that Atlas, Water Dogs, Chrome area of fighting for playoff positioning. These two teams know each other very well. They played earlier this year, so there's a little bit of, revenge factor for Chaos going into this one because the regular roster did not play in that game. And that was a game where the Archers ran up the score differential as well. Rightfully so. You got to do that in this league. We'll see. It looks like Kyle Jackson's playing this week. I know he didn't play last week because he was in or at least at Luke Magnan's wedding. Shout out to Luke Magnan and the missus. But if they get KJ and Challen back this week, I think that'll really help them out a lot because I think they missed a ton in transition last week. But this is an important game for both teams.
The stripe worries me.
Oh, it's going to be ugly.
Yeah, and that's just such a big part of the game. It's so important to me. So all those people who are ban the face off,
get the fuck out.
You can fuck off. Okay,
I view the face off very similar to kickers in football. It's a very for the brand situation where people are like, oh, kickoff shouldn't exist, and it gets talked about in that same vein. Fuck all the way off.
Well, I have different opinions on kickoff in football. I don't think it should not exist. I just think it should be changed in certain ways. Nothing should be changed about face-off. Face-off is just fine. It is one of the very unique things about our game that should stay exactly where it is. But then there's games like this where people are going to be like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm going to
watch it be an incredible face-off matchup, though.
I don't think so.
Oh no, it's gonna be horrid.
I don't. We don't know.
We're gonna end up getting what's the over under for this game of John Robbins / Jared Connors / Scott Ratliff versus CJ Costabile / Jack Rowlett at the Stripe. I'm gonna set the over under at 3.5. And I'm taking the over.
It's weird. I want to take the even. I want to take 3.5, which is weird because I feel like we're gonna get 3 where those guys are gonna face off against each other, and then we're gonna get a half where one of those guys is gonna face off against a normal face off guy. So it's gonna be 3.5 exactly.
Taking the over.
I would probably bet on the under. I feel like they're gonna dress.
To be fair,
Chaos is gonna dress a face-off guy.
It's probably gonna be ads. I think he'll be all right. I think he was just kind of dinged up. But to be fair, last week, Archer's just started the game without Ignacio at the stripe, so
Yeah,
anything is possible with them.
literally anything. Everybody was like,
Beast was so
hello?
mad. You could read the hate and like vulgarness through his tweet. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's just how I read that tweet.
oh yes.
Um,
He's like, face off number 1.
and then he let Ignacio come in cold, setting him up for failure. Shout out to Beast. I love his tweets on game days, man. He's you want a very fun comparison? Beast is to face-offs and Twitter for lacrosse as Pat McAfee is to kicking, punting, and to Twitter on game days. Both tweeting out videos recorded of the TV. It's very similar, and I love it. I love it.
Especially because they both have like done things that other guys haven't.
Yes. Like
Beast
Pat is viewed as the best face-off guy of all time. Pat's viewed as the best punter of all time.
And he's like pulled off like the onside kick to myself. Like that
They
is
both do the
iconic.
media thing. Like, it's very similar. Also, go download Beast's new podcast with Scotty Rogers and I'm blanking on who their other Drew Siebel. Rise Up Pod. Go check it out. Go download it. Beast is great. He's the first PLL guest on this program's history, so go support the homie. Cannons Chrome, 2:30 p.m.
Chrome by a million.
Sorry to them, mans. Cannons, y'all gonna get deuced on.
Them all the words I got. Chrome by a million.
Yeah, you know what's wild? Lyle
Chrome by a million.
Thompson did not play at this stadium. He was in the
even more
MLL
reason.
still.
Even more reason for Chrome by a million.
That's kind of crazy to think about. Like, it doesn't feel like that long ago, but then in other aspects, man, was that a long ass time ago.
I mean, I just told you pre-pod, them 2 years don't even exist in my brain.
Like the last time the PLL was at this stadium, Lyle Thompson was at Chesapeake Bayhawk.
Man, you're right. You're right. And the NLL was hanging on by a thread. I thought they did the coolest thing in their bubble, though. I thought it was so cool that they had the sidelines on opposite sides. It was the weirdest thing because, like, you had to watch 2 different boxes, but I thought it was so cool. I was like, I kind of can get behind this. Like,
Oh, I thought you were talking about them having a bubble and not abiding by the bubble.
oh, no.
And
no.
getting 2 teams sent home because
Yeah,
someone
no.
broke the bubble.
No, I meant, like, their sidelines were on 2 separate sides. And I
Yeah.
was like, I feel like there's some kind of, like, transitional advantage for the offense in this. Like, I think we should just do this, but I don't think it'll ever happen. But I loved it. I was like,
You know who else was in that MLO bubble with Lyle?
Kieran.
No, Kieran was
No,
in the...
Kieran came over.
Austin Cott.
Yep, Austin Cott. Someone else too. I can't remember who I was thinking of.
Well, a friend of the program's the one that burst their bubble. I don't know if you know that story, but I'll tell you after the pod because I got all those details. But Salt Lake's going to be a doozy, and I think that brings us to about that time.
Hold on. Let me turn you up first. Let me turn you up. You turned up. Ah, there they go.
It's the PLL Salt Lake City.
I go find that video.
Just thinking about that. PLL Salt Lake City picks of the week, powered by the homies over at Pickup. You guys can go to playpickup.com, start playing the hottest headlines in sports, rack up points on your fan profiles, cash them in for prizes on the Pickup marketplace at playpickup.com. Deej, we got Atlas Whip Snakes to kick this weekend off, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday night. I'm going to say it.
Say it so I don't have to.
Give me the Whips. They're in that territory of you can't pick against them, until they give you a reason to. They have one loss on the season. It's to the Water Dogs, believe it or not. And they're just playing very solid across the board, like in all phases of the game. Nards is showing, Joe Nardell's returning to where he got his superpowers. Come on now. Like, Nards was dominant at this arena for an entire bubble season. Almost won the MVP. In my book, he was the MVP of the bubble. Just a fantastic matchup, but Whipsnakes right now, they have that slight edge for me.
I'm glad you said it so I didn't have to.
Valid.
I want to pick the Bulls so bad because like they have so much riding on this in terms of getting a win against a team they've never won against before. But that's the main worry in this. Never beat the Whipsnakes before, and they seem to not know how to lose right now. So I can't justify in my brain picking Atlas.
Atlas are such a fast team, but Whipsnakes have proven they have the formula to slow them down. And that's why I got to take Whips. 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I feel like that was the time that the Miles Jones Ward on Curtis Dixon moment happened. But it's Water Dogs and Redwoods. Very fun. I'm excited for this matchup a lot. It's not my game of the week. It is my game of the week. This is my game of the week. These two teams play each other very well. They play each other very close, very competitive. It gets, scrappy when these two teams play. I like TD at the stripe in this game. Whether it's Jake Withers or Zach Tucci, not that either of them are bad. I just think this is a good spot for TD. And I just like the way the Redwoods offense is playing. Plus, it looks like Jules Henningberg is back. That's a big boost for the way that this offense flows. It's a big boost for the way this midfield plays. I think it's really going to help a lot for just the fluidity of the offense. And oddly enough, with all that being said,
you pulling a page out of my book.
I'm taking the Redwoods. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Like, this game, I think, could be the closest of the weekend. But I'm taking the Redwoods.
This tough to you?
Yeah.
I ain't never questioned the Redwoods against the Water Dogs. Ever. I don't care what they got going on over there. They ain't never stopped the rolling of the Woods. Ever. I don't know what it is about the Woods. They just got their number. Jack Kelly been nice. TD at the stripe. Jules coming back. No more Mitch Bartolo. Sad face. But we be all right. I like the way. I like the implication of this game more.
You move?
Yes, I do like the way I move too. Or maybe I like the way you move. I like the way you move. But no, in all seriousness, I like the implications of this game more than anything. Like, the Water Dogs don't have much riding on this game in terms of, all they really have is locking
seeding.
Speeding and locking in a spot in the championship series. Redwoods are in a tough scenario. If they don't win this week, they may still be in the driver's seat, but you're playing a very tough Chrome, which means you're possibly putting it in the hands of dropping down to a 6 or 7 seed. If Chaos happens to win out in the next 2 games, you're a 7 seed playing the 2-seeded Atlas September 3rd in Boston. Probably want better odds than that. This is a good week to start that. Maybe you win this week, you roll into next week feeling good, you beat Chrome, you end on a 2-game series. You might find yourself in 5th or 4th place. It would be crazy if you somehow snuck into the championship series, but you got to win this week. I think you have it because I don't think they have enough to beat you because they never have. Spectacular games. This one I do think will be the closest game. May even go to overtime. It's going to be game of the week, but I trust that the Woods will make it 3-0 after they've been 2-0.
Reason I say this game is close is because Water Dogs are flirting with that. Can't pick against them until they prove other. Like, they feel like they have like a team of destiny vibe around them right now, where they're just pulling wins left and right in the most unspeakable fashions. So would it surprise me if the Water Dogs win this game? Not at all. I'm just picking the Redwoods simply because I like the face-off matchup, and if you get possessions, you win games, and the Redwoods are going to need possessions to beat this Water Dogs team. They have TD there. He's playing well. So give me the Woods.
I wasn't good in history class, but I did hear them say it repeats itself. We 2-0, so ain't no way we ain't going to be 3-0.
Let's see if we go 3-0 and picking the same teams here. Chaos and Archers in the first game on Saturday. Deech, the battle of 3.2%. Volume 2 commences here. Chaos in that tiny desk driver's seat, taking on an Archers team that's looking to bounce back. Who you got?
This comes down to goalie play for me. We talked about the face-off being horrid, so possessions are going to be interesting. They're going to come from defensive stands. They're going to come from scrappy ground balls. They're going to come from unorthodox plays, which both of these teams can do. So I think it'll be pretty even in that point. So I think it comes down to what goalie is going to be making saves. And we're talking about 3-time goalie of the year, MVP goalie, Blaze Riordan versus second start, possibly. Or no, not even. Sorry, we're talking Gitz this week.
Yes.
I don't think Dobson is going back in.
Not that he played bad.
No, he didn't play bad.
Very
They,
well.
they said it was pretty much a plan to have him play at least a game, and they said it was probably going to be that game. Not sure why they picked that game of all games. But,
yeah,
hey,
he did say it was either going to be Denver or this week, and they chose this week.
So I'm not the coach over there, so I don't know what's going on. But, yeah, I still think that Blaze makes more saves than Gitz, which is the ultimate winner in this stance. I don't think either defense has played at a point that has kept guys off the board. I don't think either offense has run defenses out of the board. I don't think either, face-off group or transition group has been dominant. But I think their goalies have won them a lot of games on both sides. A lot. Quotes. But I think their goalies are the ones that are winning them games. So I think it comes down to goalie play. And 100% I'm giving that battle to Blaze every single time.
It's not the playoffs, so I feel a little bit better about where I'm headed here. Chaos just have not given me a reason.
I'm DMing Jack.
I'll text him right now. Prove me wrong, bruh. I like Chaos have 2 wins this year. One was very kind of easy to predict, which was that Cannons game. They haven't shown me enough to feel confident in a pick'em situation to pick them to win a game. Like, if I needed to pick in any situation one of these 2 teams to win me a game, I gotta go with the Archers. And I'm gonna go with the Archers. There's a little home field advantage there for them with the boys playing in Utah. I'm taking the Archers to bounce back and secure a win and get a little revenge in Utah from what happened last year. So give me the Archers.
All I'm going to say is the Archers haven't beat Chaos since the trade. So I hope Ian's playing. That's all I'm going to say. I really hope Ian's playing. because this is Ian's game. Ian balls out in this game.
Yo,
And
what
they
did we
have
say last week, too, with the Archers, though? It's going to need to be Connor Fields' performance. He showed up. He showed up. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
We might know a little something.
They ain't lost since that trade. So if Ian, and the first time they played, Ian went real ball.
Oh, yeah.
Just hoping to see 55 out there in Chaos jersey this weekend.
Cannon's Chrome. I don't think there's much else to say. Give me Chrome.
Beauties, baby.
Those are our PLL Salt Lake City picks of the week. To recap, Deej and I are both rooting for the same teams. Allegedly. On Friday night.
Well,
I don't know if rooting would be...
Except that third game.
Well, at least there's only 2 games on Friday.
Yeah, that third game.
We're both taking Whip Snakes. We're both taking Redwoods. And then Saturday, Deej is going Chaos. I'm going Archers. And then we're both going Chrome, which we all know means Cannons are probably going to find a way to absolutely dunk on our heads and shock the world. But those are our PLL Salt Lake City picks of the week, powered by Pickup. Last little segment here. Also, shout out to the PLL. The doc is coming to ESPN Plus, Fate of a Sport, streaming August 29th on ESPN Plus, and then it's going to have 2 runs on cable TV as well, right before the championship game, I believe. And then there's another date as well, but ESPN Plus, August 29th. That'll be nice during the bye week. We'll have something to talk about there, as well as playoff matchup previews. But the NLL free agency is on the horizon, DJ, at 12 a.m. Eastern Time on August 15th, which is this coming Monday. The new CBA kicks in, and free agency begins. I have some names here. A lot of them friends of the program are unrestricted and restricted free agents that our good pal Adam Levy, friend of the program, wrote about for the NLL website. There's about one from each team, give or take, that are pretty big names, and then other notable free agents to keep an eye on. Here are the ones that he wrote big write-ups about. Number 1. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Curtis Dixon. Curtis Dixon's an unrestricted free agent. He can decline the franchise tag if it is offered to him and sign with another team. He's now 34. Adam writes, he could go back to the Roughnecks, but they are retooling with a younger roster after winning the championship in 2019. They're not far off from having that formula there, but, Curtis getting a little bit older, might want to go to a team that's ready-made to go on a championship run. The first year without Dane Doby, he amassed 42 goals and 40 assists, making it the 5th 40-40 season in his career. Those 42 goals were his most in a single season since 2018. So, ipso facto, the boy still got it. Curtis Dixon, unrestricted free agent. The first restricted free agent with a big write-up here, another friend of the program, down there in Sting City with the Georgia Swarm, former first-round pick and 2019 All-Rookie team member, Brendan Bonberry. He's a restricted free agent, so if a team other than the Swarm offered him a deal, the Swarm could match and secure Bonberry's talents for the next year or more. However, if they chose not to match, Bonberry could take any offer put in front of him. And Adam Levy writes, with Miles Thompson likely to be in the lineup for all of next NLL season, he missed 15 games this past year, along with 2021 first-round pick Ryan Lanchberry, Bonberry may feel he can tally as many or more points on a team where he can play a more statistically impactful role on offense. He's a beast with the loose balls. He set a personal best in loose balls this year with 65. The Swarm offense, he helped them with his off-ball skills run more smoothly in their first season without some of the following names here, Deej. Swarm played this season for the first time without Zed Williams, Randy Stotts, and for the most part without Miles Thompson for the majority of the year. Pretty wild. Brendan Bonberry had 62 points over 18 games in his third year this year, 26 goals and 36 assists, which is more than double his combined points total in his first 2 years in the league, when he totaled 25 points when he primarily was just kind of a backdoor player. The next guy on the list, which I'm 99% confident is going nowhere, the big cat, Kevin Crowley. He is a free agent. He's one of a handful of veterans over 30 on the wings that, they have a young, talented core that they've been building over the last few years. Kevin's a Philly staple. He's a guy that, when you think of all-time Philadelphia athletes, even though it's not in a major four sport, Kevin Crowley is one of those guys. He's totaled less than 70 points in only one season in his career. He's been playing since 2011. He can reject the franchise tag, but the Wings have yet to place the tag on Crowley or any other players on their roster. The only other player who's an unrestricted free agent on the Wings who could not reject the tag would be team captain Kyle Matisse, who is sure to be a priority for the Wings to keep. Allegedly, there have been whispers of the idea that Crowley could one day play for his hometown team, which is the Vancouver Warriors, because he lives and works in the Metro Vancouver and Greater British Columbia area, and also plays for the WLA's New Westminster Salmon Bellies during the summer. Obviously not this summer, but he allegedly was going to play in the PLL as well, and Kevin also has a house in Philadelphia, so I feel very confident in saying Paul Day is going to do what it takes to bring Big Cat back. The next one, this one could be very, very interesting. Kyle Rubish for the Saskatchewan Rush. The former 4-time Defensive Player of the Year seems to be on the move this offseason after he rejected the franchise tag from the Rush, along with his team captain Chris Corbeil. The 11-year veteran still has plenty of game left, and as he was named to the second-team All-NLL this past season after amassing 148 loose balls and 36 caused turnovers. Almost any team across the league would welcome Rubish with open arms to secure their back end. Since caused turnovers became an official stat in 2011, DJ, he has accrued 398 in his career, over 100 more than the second all-time leader. And his championship pedigree from the Rush dynasty, he will be highly sought after. So those are the big names right there. Other notable free agents to keep an eye on. Unrestricted free agents, these three coming up. Ryan Benesh, Chris Corbeil, Damon Edwards, all unrestricted free agents. Restricted free agent Tim Edwards from Colorado. Sean Evans, unrestricted free agent. Zach Harrywires, restricted free agent for Calgary. Connor Kieran, who had a breakout year this year for the Riptide, is a restricted free agent. Friend of the program, Kyle Killen, is a restricted free agent for Vancouver. Jeremy Noble is an unrestricted free agent with San Diego. Bryce Sweeting is a restricted free agent with Buffalo. Chris Wardle is an unrestricted free agent for Colorado. And then there's a big write-up here about goaltending. There's no doubt how important goaltending is in the NLL for a team's chance to win. While many teams have their franchise goalies, there are a few that could be on the move this offseason. Aaron Bold was signed by the Thunderbirds last season and has championship experience. He's an unrestricted free agent. While high in age, he still has some game left in the tank, but may want to try and be closer to his Victoria, British Columbia home. Goa Abrams is a restricted free agent and saw time in net for the Riptide over the last 2 seasons, but with the emergence of Steve Orleman in net, he could look elsewhere for a starting opportunity. Evan Kirk only played in 2 games for the Nighthawks before being moved to the holdout list for the remainder of the season due to work commitments. He's an unrestricted free agent with 2 young goalies on their roster already in Rylan Hartley and Joel Watson, as well as the acquisition of Riley Hutchcraft. There will be lots of competition for the building Nighthawks if Kirk is available. Eric Penny, a restricted free agent, saw time in net for the Rush late last season, but given their given their last season's team performance, there could be a fierce competition for the starting role with Adam Shute if they bring him back. Alex Bouquet and Steve Fryer, both unrestricted free agents, split time in net for the Warriors last season and saw varying ranges of success. Bouquet was great at the start of the season and saw his production slip, whereas Fryer was solid in relief, but did not capitalize on his starting opportunities enough to warrant the starting role. Big-time free agents coming up. Of those names, who are you most intrigued by to potentially see on the move?
Maybe Connor Kieran. Not even to see if he goes on the move. I'm just interested in that whole process because
Restricted free agent.
Yeah, he's restricted, so I want to see how New York handles that because he's had a very good year next to Jeff T, Callum Crawford, Kieran McArdle, who's obviously kind of their base. So obviously what they do with Callum Crawford in his scenario.
Which they did place the franchise tag on him.
Okay, so that changes things a little bit. Do they feel like that's why I think I knew that he had the franchise tag, which is why I wanted to watch this because it's like, do they feel like they have the pieces and they want to go another route so they'll let him leave, or do they feel like what he did last year he can only get better on, so they're going to match, they're going to try and bring him back? And obviously, I like the riptide a little bit, so they're obviously that's the biggest thing is looking at how they're going to handle things because they didn't have a great year last year, or they didn't have a terrible one either. So their free agency is the biggest thing with me because I want to see if they make the right moves to get better. They're in a position to get better because they didn't lose games by a lot. They were in games. They lost by a couple of goals. So, making the right moves now are very important. Connor Kieran, in my opinion, should go back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really interested to see if they're going to, match any offers that get brought up and if he goes back or if he ends up in a different jersey.
I'm looking at Kyle Rubish, and I already have a team in mind that he would be fantastic on, and pairing him up with a podcast favorite player. I think he's all but gone from Saskatchewan, and I think it's wild that they did not try to capitalize and get anything back for him at the trade deadline. Kyle Rubish in a Panther City Lacrosse Club uniform makes a lot of sense. Go to a team that proved that they were kind of on the cusp of making the playoffs last year. Liam Burns is there. Team those two up on that defense together. Another year in that system of that coaching staff. They're only going to get better. I'm pretty sure they drafted Jonathan Donville, if I'm not mistaken, in the draft last year. He'll be there on that offense to go along with the firepower of Patrick Dodds. Kyle Rubish going there would be a lot of fun, and I think would be another point of legitimacy for Panther City to be like, hey, we're not messing around in a very tough Western Conference, and we're going to do what it takes to win.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, with what they're putting together, the terms that the Rush are in, and just Liam Burns is what he's doing down there is great. And he did a lot of that with the Water Dogs this summer. They mentioned him kind of being a solo captain, and that's kind of like what I view he's doing down there defensively anyway. I feel like he's leading a lot of that defensive charge on his own, and having a guy like Kyle Rubish there would relieve a little bit of that pressure, and then they would be able to start to progress a lot faster because now you have a two-headed monster leading that storm instead of one guy trying to, bring it all together on top of coaching. When you have two guys, it gets a lot easier. So that's my biggest thing is with that is one, where he goes, and if he goes to Panther City, how much better that defense gets almost immediately.
And I don't know how possible it is because I don't know the situation with Brock Sorensen. Rubish makes a lot of sense for the Wings, too. They brought in former head coach of the Saskatchewan Rush, to be the offensive coordinator. Obviously, Rubish is a defensive player, but there's familiarity from a head coaching perspective there. I think there could be like an outside looking in shot for the Wings, depending on, stuff with Sorensen, if he is back or not, that Rubish could potentially be a fit with the Wings. So that's also interesting to look at. We're going to be covering NLL free agency like crazy over the next X amount of months. Monday's going to be wild. We might have some sort of live stream, Twitter Spaces, something to kind of keep up to date with everything going on. That's why you got to follow us on the socials at OTBLaxPod, Twitter, Instagram. Follow DJ on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. Follow me on Twitter at KBIZZL311. Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com, for all of our written content. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Let us know where you think some of these NLL free agents are going to end up. Give us, your thoughts on the PLL season, regular season winding down, where you think teams are going to, fall into place in the standings, who's going to the championship series, all that good stuff. Have they announced where the championship series is going to be yet?
I don't think so.
Got to keep an eye on that. And of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Smash that like button. Click the bell icon so you don't miss a single episode of OTB in full video form on the YouTube channel. And comment down below with your picks of the week, your NLL free agency thoughts, and everything in between. Shout out to our sponsors, Tomahawk Shades, Pickup, Kenwood Beer, and Bino Board. All their information is linked in the show notes on audio and in the description on YouTube. This has been episode number 234 of the allegedly award-nominated, number 9 ranked, and viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, part of the Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast network. For DJ, I'm KB. Enjoy Friday night lacrosse after dark and Saturday afternoon lacrosse. We're going to be tweeting up a storm, so make sure you're following along. But until then, we're getting the heck out of here. Peace.
Peace.